Ever thought about making a podcast? Well, Anchor is the easiest and simplest way to do so. Let me explain. For starters, it's free. There's also creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone, laptop, or computer. Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on multiple platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcasts, and much, much more. You can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need in a podcast in one place. So give it a try. We're back here on the Those Film Nerds podcast talking something we have never talked before, a new movie. Yes, that's right. We're talking Spike Lee and his new movie out on Netflix now, The Five Bloods. My name is Will, and as always, I'm joined by my trusted friend, colleague, and maybe Vietnam War veteran, Sam Dierberger.
Oh, man.
I've been planning that for like 10 minutes, so hopefully I got nailed that.
Hopefully that landed.
Yeah.
It's like doing stand-up comedy. It's like the comedians do stand-up comedy without an audience.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know how it's going to sound. How you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Nice.
It's been a busy week, but we got a new movie out of it, which is a rare occurrence these days. And we should say that this is the first episode proper of what we want to do on the podcast long term, which is when a new movie comes out, we'll go watch it and kind of do an in-depth review of it for an entire episode. The problem up until this point is, of course, been that we didn't really have any new movies to review.
There are no movies to review. But yeah, so this will be kind of the typical episode from now on. These next few weeks are, again, a little spotty, but hopefully in the future, we'll just say, this will be the typical episode. But before we get into The Five Bloods, by the way, do you think this movie would have been better, like, just call it The? Just say The?
Yes.
I was a little confused by that. I don't know what it provided. Anyway, we'll get into that later. But just a little bit of industry news. I think I have one. Maybe you have one. I'm not really sure. So mine is kind of two, though, I guess. So the Oscars have been postponed 2 months, which doesn't really – it's fine, I guess. So it's in March now, which whatever. Actually, shoot, it might be in April. Anyway, 2 months, postponed 2 months. The release window of when you can still be considered for awards is now pushed back to February as well. And something interesting, the Oscars 10 years ago, in the 2010 Oscars, actually, so 2009 movies, allowed there to be 10 Best Picture nominees, anywhere from 6 to 10. Now, the Academy Awards has come out and said it's only 10. There will always be 10 now. Unless they change it again, I suppose. But for the foreseeable future, there will be 10 movies nominated for Best Picture. For example, last year there were 9. So there just would have been one more, I suppose. By the way, what would have been the 10th movie last year if there were 10 spots? Knives Out?
No.
You don't think so? It did get a screenplay, though. That's what I was...
Uncut Gems got snubbed.
It did, you're right. Probably Uncut Gems, you think?
You know what? Just Mercy would probably have...
slid into that spot?
Yes. Yeah.
I would have been fine with either three of those.
Yeah. Or maybe Waves. I didn't see it, but you saw it.
Yeah, Waves was really good. I could have seen Waves get in that spot. Or maybe Cats. One of those 5. Somewhere in there.
Musical theater masterpiece.
Yeah. Obviously. I did actually finally see Cats maybe about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, joyous film, not movie.
Yeah.
Film. What a picture. Anyway, we're not talking about Cats.
Man. So this is funny. I just read an article this morning on this website called slate.com, which is probably the stupidest news, opinion, culture analysis website I've ever seen in my life.
Nice.
I've read multiple articles on Slate which are so stupid, but I read this opinion article which is called "One Small Easy Way to Make the Oscars More Inclusive." And you think, oh, is this about the foreign film changing it to international film? Is it getting more foreign language movies into the Academy? No. It's not about that. They're like, the entire article was about how
oh man, cut out again.
The Academy should only put movies they should only put movies for consideration for Best International Feature if they're overdubbed. And I'm like, overdubbing is prejudice towards deaf people. What are you talking about? Because then the lips don't match up. What?
Okay, so let's say French movie can only be nominated for Best Foreign Film if it's dubbed into English. Is that what it said?
Yes, that's what they're arguing.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible. Well, I've been on record for years pushing that, obviously. That's my motto.
Everyone knows that.
All foreign films should be dubbed into English so that it's super upsetting for everyone to watch.
Well, yeah, it's just I don't speak Korean and I'm blind. What am I supposed to do? What?
Well, I can't read. So
that was the other thing. I was like, what about illiterate people?
I'm well on the record of not being able to read. All right.
This might be moderately offensive, but if you're illiterate, my guess is you're not paying $7 to go see Parasite. That's just my guess.
Probably not.
I don't know if you have that kind of taste. But
I can't read, but I'm really into Korean culture. So need to see that movie. No. Let's talk. Did you have any more movie news? I can't remember if.
No, that was my only thing.
Okay.
I just thought it was hilarious.
No, that is funny. That is good. Nice. We love to be as offensive as possible.
I just try to seek truth.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're talking. Let's just start off with Five Bloods. Can't get over that. With some Spike Lee talk. So what's your Spike Lee, of course, the director of this illustrious movie. What's your exposure to Spike Lee, and how do you feel about him?
Well, I've seen Do the Right Thing, which I think many would consider his best movie.
Yeah.
I think the layman would consider it his best movie. I don't know. It was fine. Do the Right Thing. It's fine.
I haven't seen it, to be honest. I should.
Yeah, it's It's but then there was Black Klansman 2 years ago, which was a good movie. Certainly, on one level, very, very entertaining. The premise is evident in the title. The premise is, you have a black man infiltrating the KKK, which is just an interesting concept as an espionage movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's all really my exposure to Spike Lee. My dad was just telling me that he once saw Spike Lee speak, because like back in the '90s he directed a commercial for Nike, and he said that
he directed a lot of commercials.
Spike just got up there, like said like I don't know, maybe like 10 sentences, and then played the commercial, and then he walked off stage.
Spike is a treasure. So I swear.
It was supposed to be like a full-on talk on like directing. So he just lets his work speak for himself.
Yeah. So
I don't know. He has this interesting reputation.
My exposure to Spike Lee is similar to yours, pretty limited. I've seen BlacKkKlansman. I actually really like BlacKkKlansman. Haven't seen Malcolm X. It's freaking long though, so I don't know if I'll ever get to that. I like Inside Man. I think that has a good premise and a nice twist at the end, so I'm a fan of that movie. And honestly, that's it. I think, although I love the persona of Spike Lee so much more than I like his work, I guess. I think he's just awesome. Like, the fact that he's just a huge Knicks fan is hilarious. And
yes,
just how he's like bigger than his movies, I suppose. Like, he's really into the social commentary aspect of filmmaking, which is very prevalent in all of his movies.
Yes.
So I think the persona of him is so much greater than his actual movies, which is saying something, because his movies are pretty technically good for the most part. I think that'd be hard to argue,
Yeah.
But I'm a fan of him. With my limited exposure, I really like hearing him speak about his movies and everything in between. But do you have any more thoughts on Spike Lee before we get kind of into general thoughts of Da 5 Bloods?
Yeah, does he do his own cinematography?
Let me check. I got it pulled up right now.
He didn't do it on The 5 Bloods.
No.
I got The 5 Bloods pulled up.
Let me check some other ones. He does seem like a type of director that would, though, right? No, he doesn't do it in BlacKkKlansman. He probably doesn't. No. But
okay.
He does write, he does direct, he does produce. I mean, he does...
Yeah,
he does the works, yeah. So we automatically respect him for that. So that's nice. But let's talk Da 5 Bloods, just general thoughts. And we haven't discussed this at all as of yet.
No. We have a vague idea of what each other thought because we gave it a star rating on Letterboxd,
which we'll do at the end of the episode. Get our star rating again. But let me hear your general thoughts.
General thoughts on Da 5 Bloods.
And we'll get into spoilers later.
This movie is long. It's long.
So you say it's long, and it's interesting because at the end of it, I was like, man. So it's about 2 hours and 30 minutes. 2 hours, 35 minutes, maybe?
35.
At the end of it, I was like, man, I could spend another hour in that world.
But it's like our world.
I could spend another hour with those characters, and I'll get into that more later. But all right, continue. So it is long. It is quite long.
There's certain aspects about this movie that I really admire. I think the characters, like you said, are very interesting. I think the general concept is very interesting. This, like, I don't know. I read somewhere that it is inspired more or less by, like, The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. Like, kind of combining a war movie with, like, a treasure hunt type thing.
Yeah.
Like, that was really interesting.
So, real quick, we should say that it's for Vietnam War veterans returning to Vietnam to find the body of their dead, which isn't a spoiler or anything, their dead commander, and then find some gold while they're at it. So, interesting
Or
premise.
was it the other way around? Because
You could debate that.
Two of the characters, I think two of them thought they were going back for the gold, and the other two thought they were going back for the body.
Yeah.
Which becomes a point of contention.
I think it's both, but absolutely, you're right.
Yeah. There's some other things too. Like, I thought some of the dialogue was poorly written at certain points.
Yeah, I'll agree with you.
I thought that there is a certain pivotal moment in the movie which is so surprising and so shocking and so out of the blue with like no warning that it almost felt cheap, if that makes sense. I don't know if you can guess what I'm
Yeah, we'll get into that moment later.
But yeah. Other than that, I thought the movie was good. I would recommend it.
All right, cool. So I'm gonna just talk some general thoughts here. I really, really like this movie. I was digging it from start to finish. It defied my expectations. I thought it was going to be a lot of flashbacks, a lot of the Vietnam War, because they kind of bounced back and forth a little bit. But I was shocked that it stayed mostly with our guys going back to Vietnam.
Yeah.
It was probably split 70, 80, 20, 75, 25, which I liked. I could have used a bit more in the Vietnam War. Just a little bit more to discover like why these characters are doing this. Maybe just a little bit more of that. But I really did like this. The characters are great. This is some of the performances. Some Oscars are coming, or at least nominations are coming some actors' ways, is all I'm saying. Because the lead is phenomenal. I wasn't aware of his other work, but Delroy Lindo.
I haven't heard of any of these guys except for Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah.
And they're all like getting up there in years. I'm like,
I had heard of Isaiah Whitlock Jr. from a couple of things, but Delroy Lindo, the lead who plays Paul, wow, he was great. He'll be getting a Best Actor nomination. I would have to guess. And it's easily the best performance so far this year, which is, I guess, not saying too much because not much has come out. But
right,
he was excellent. And as I was just kind of alluded to earlier, I could have used a little bit more in Vietnam because I love Chadwick Boseman. That dude is a star.
Yeah, he is.
Every scene he was in was so good, and that character, Stormin Norman.
Stormin Norman.
I love that character, and even in death, he's teaching his men or helping his men, kind of in their journey, I suppose.
Yes.
From just his philosophies and his ideals of how life should be lived, which I thought was great.
So the interesting thing with that was with Chadwick was when you look at the like cast billing, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Chadwick Boseman is 6 people in to the cast, which is right. But like going into the movie, you're like, why is Chadwick Boseman like basically limited to a cameo appearance? Like it's a little more than a cameo.
Yeah, a little bit more.
He's not.
He has like
for his
15.
Talent,
he has like 25 minutes.
Enough.
Yeah, he's so good. I needed more of him, and that's what I was saying. It's a long runtime, but if you had given me, I said an hour earlier. It's not an hour. It's more like 20 minutes. If you had given me 20 more minutes of Boseman / Vietnam War, I would have loved that. And maybe even cut like 10 minutes of the So really, I don't want much more runtime. I just really want more Chadwick because he's great. Oh my gosh, he's great.
Yes.
For anyone who doesn't know, he plays Black Panther in the Marvel movies, but he's also played Jackie Robinson in 42. He's played James Brown in Get On Up. He's a great actor. Someone to look out for too.
Marshall too. He plays Thursgood Marshall.
Yeah, great actor. Really excited to see what he does next. Not sure what he has slotted upcoming, but super excited for whatever it is.
He's going to be, he's probably got like 15 more Marvel movies to do. But
well, yeah. I could see...
he has a movie called Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which is in post-production right.
Excited for that. I could see, depending on how strong this year is, I could see Boseman. I don't think he'll get nominated, but I could see him at that 6th or 7th spot for a supporting actor. I don't think he'll get in. Even in a weak year, I don't think he'd get in just because he's so limited, but he's right on the verge of getting a nomination. I could be proved wrong, but we'll see.
I wonder, has he been nominated before?
No.
Let me see.
I don't believe so. You could check. I really liked the style of this movie. I think Spike added a nice flair to it, and it felt very Spike with like the I don't want to say weird, but like just kind of spliced in images of people, and that's what felt very Spike to me. The aspect ratio changed a couple times, which kind of bugged me at first, but I settled into it. And the lighting and exposure was definitely different from Vietnam War to present day. It almost felt lighter in the Vietnam War.
Yeah, that was strange. This was me, but during some of the action sequences in Vietnam, like particularly that scene towards the beginning.
With the helicopter?
With the helicopter and they get ambushed.
Yeah.
That felt like I was watching a video game.
I agree. It felt a little off.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure
if it
was
touched up in some way.
I wasn't sure if that was Spike trying to make it that way. I don't know. It was a little weird. That being said, it was only like 30 seconds, so it's hard to say like that ruined the movie because it was so short. But yeah, I'll agree with you there. And it was lighter in the Vietnam War part. I think that's because Chadwick's character is still there and he's kind of the glue that holds this team together. And then when he's not there, it's kind of dark and and whatnot.
Right.
Which I actually do like. I thought that was a smart move to do that.
Yeah.
To make it lighter when he's there because he is that glue that leads this team
guiding
of
light.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So I have a notebook, just kind of some general notes. Most of these are spoilery though, so maybe
get into the spoilers.
Let's just do a few more minutes of non-spoilers. I thought that first 30 minutes dragged a little bit. That's where I would have liked to seen a little bit cut. The first act is easily the worst act. I think it gets better. Yeah. In my opinion, the second and third act. And I also thought, I don't know if you noticed this, but they'd show some things twice. Like in some of their handshakes. Like we'd see the handshake and then it would like show it from a different angle. But like it'd play back. It wasn't like they cut mid, like you're seeing it from one side and then you see the saw it twice.
No, it's like when it's like in a car crash where they film it from like 10 different angles.
But then they showed both of the angles.
Yeah.
So again, that was like 2 or 3 times, so it's hard. That's kind of nitpicky, but let's do we get into spoilers?
Yeah, let's get into
I
spoilers.
think we're like 15 minutes in with non-spoilers. So spoilers coming up for Duff-Eye Bloods. Go check it out on Netflix and come back here. We do both recommend it, so it gets our recommend, and then come back and listen to the rest and see what we have to say. So spoilers alert. Just real quick, I kind of do want to say I liked the Apocalypse Now sign when they're in the bar at Vietnam. I thought that was kind of cool. I was like, oh, that's funny.
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah. And that shooting location was very similar to Apocalypse Now when that whole like bar / motel area.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That's just like in Apocalypse Now.
I liked that. That was kind of cool. I liked that bar sequence actually. I liked that with the Vietnamese from the north the Viet Cong, I suppose, who they were fighting against, and then they kind of realized that they're people too. I liked that.
Yeah,
that was cool.
I don't know how accurate this movie is, but in terms of like, is that what Vietnam is like today? Like, it's surprisingly.
It's not a true story.
Surprisingly diverse, you know.
Yeah.
Because like they see these 4 guys, and they're, you know, obviously 4 black men in the middle of Vietnam, and they don't like bat an eye at all. So it must be like, you know, there must be a lot of like cultural exposure there.
Sure.
I don't know.
I thought the first part when they get to the bar scene plus a little bit before that worked well. And then after it just kind of slows down, like I was saying, until I think, in my opinion, is when it picks up is when they find Norm, when they find his dead body. I think that's when it kind of switches and it picks up. And we'll get into your scene where I think you were referencing earlier after the break. We have a couple more minutes here, but I think once they find Norm, it starts to pick up, and they get his bones at this point. So they get his bones to bring him home to his sisters. I really liked that scene where they find him. That was pretty emotional.
Yeah.
So I like that. What else do you have? Just without going into that, we'll hit it after the break. Without going into that one scene you're referencing, do you have any other thoughts, real quick?
Yeah, I thought the initial scene with Otis, as he goes to his old, you know, Vietnamese girlfriend.
Oh, we should touch on that.
Yes, and knocks on the door. What was her name?
The girlfriend?
No. What was her name?
No. Wait, was it? No, not Vin. That's the guy. It's like 10. It's 10. It's 10. Her name is like. It's like Tien.
There it is.
But they pronounced it 10.
Yeah. So Otis goes and visits 10 in the apartment. And this is presumably the first time he's seen her in like 40 years plus.
Yeah, however long till the Vietnam War.
The dialogue between them is like they just saw each other yesterday. Like it just it takes you out of the scene quite a bit. You're like, you know, the way he just casually walks into the apartment.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Maybe they kept in touch or something. I don't know.
But we're not led to believe that. So I do know what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just odd. It was just an odd scene.
Yeah.
Which took a lot out of it. The whole subplot with like, you know, she has connections with the French mafia or whatever that is, who like, it's like, why do they need, from a practical standpoint, I'm like, couldn't they slowly smuggle this gold out of Vietnam by themselves? Why do they need the French mafia to get involved?
I think it was to do it quicker, but I know what you're saying. It does become a little convoluted just a little bit when, maybe not even convoluted, just a little confusing when they're all saying like, here's how we're going to divide the gold. It's 20% to you, 20%, you know, it's like,
yeah.
I feel like he could have told that a little tighter, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's how Spike Lee wanted it to be. So, but we're gonna.
Well, okay. So then on the plus side, though, a lot of the Marvin Gaye music works really well.
It does. The score is quite excellent.
Just because the juxtaposition of this calm, soulful music with trudging through a brutal jungle, obviously both parallels, like recalling the quintessential Vietnam movie, which is a whole lot of CCR and a whole lot of Marvin Gaye blasting as they walk through the jungle, and also just it's just good music. It's just a good soundtrack.
Real quick, I'm going to cut you off. We're going to take a quick break and get right back. Thank you for listening. Welcome back, everyone. We're here to talk a little bit more about Da 5 Bloods, and we're gonna start by going into the scene that Sam referenced earlier.
Turns out we were not talking about.
As soon as we paused that last recording, I was like, "So I'm assuming you're talking about this scene," and you're like, "Nope, I'm talking about that scene." I was like, "Okay, well, there we go." So we'll just go in chronological order, which would be Sam's scene. They've found the gold at this point. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they have found the gold.
Yes.
They've had their debate on how they're going to split it.
Yeah, they're going back to the town.
Yeah, they're meeting their guide at a location, and they kind of come to a clearing.
But things go horribly wrong. So they're trudging through the jungle. Yes, and out of absolutely nowhere, Eddie, one of the veterans, steps on a landmine and just gets blown up.
So I saw it coming. When you walk backwards, I was like, he's gonna step on a landmine or something. Like we've already introduced the landmine characters that go around and remove landmines. I saw it coming. I will agree with you. I thought it was maybe a little unwarranted.
Well, I mean, it's like you can kill off Eddie, but do it with a little more flavor. Like, and the weird part is, this is the weird part. He gets blown up, and he doesn't get blown up, because then there's like a whole minute of his decapitated, well, not decapitated, like
he's basically
amputated body. Like
it's just his torso and head, and his arms. Actually,
torso. He's like Anakin Skywalker, just sitting there, and then he's talking, and I'm like, what is going on?
Well, he only says one line, but yeah.
I'm like, I don't know if that's physically possible. First of all,
well, we saw it in Revenge of the Sith, so obviously you just referenced it.
It must be true.
Yeah,
but
it's amazing.
It's like, my immediate thought was, is this some sort of like sick metaphor that Spike is trying to like force through?
It reminded me of Tropic Thunder a little bit.
Yes, it was very Tropic Thundery.
This
is absurd.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, he stepped on a landmine, just blow him up. Like, why is there this whole minute? Why do I have to see a whole minute of them trying to comfort him as he's about to die?
So then we see Delroy's son, that's the actor, Paul's son, who comes with them. And I was actually, just quickly, I was surprised that it wasn't just a war movie / go find their friend. Like, it was more about this father-son relationship than I thought it would be, which actually worked pretty well for me. Yeah,
that was very interesting.
I liked that a lot, because Paul is suffering from a lot of PTSD, which we'll get into in a little bit.
Yes.
And he's kind of back and forth on whether or not he likes his son, because it's revealed later that Paul's wife died during childbirth, so he's upset with his son, among other reasons too.
Yeah.
But anyway, his son steps on a landmine as well, so they have to get him out. How did that work for you? They kind of pull him with a rope, and he survives.
Yeah. I mean,
I thought it was fine.
It's a good scene.
Yeah,
like
I thought it was too.
Like okay, so it's emotionally effective because there's good buildup to that point when they pull him off, and when they do pull him off and he's okay, it's extremely satisfying for the audience.
Yeah,
like
feel like
as an audience member, you can be like, sigh of relief kind of thing.
Sure.
But in terms of fleshing out their father-son relationship, there wasn't a whole lot there in that scene particularly.
Okay.
At that point, you're like, okay, my foot's on a landmine. I'm gonna take anybody's advice to not die.
Yeah.
Like it's not about trusting my dad at this point. It's about not dying.
I know what you're saying.
It's
sure.
Like, what else can I do?
And at this point, we're thinking
there's better ways.
Sure. At this point, we're thinking that his dad's gonna be fine. He's gonna kind of come back and be there for his son. And he immediately flips a switch, and he's holding these landmine people who are essentially just going across Vietnam. I think they're Australian. They're just going across Vietnam to remove landmines. Respectable cause. And he just immediately takes a gun and.
I'm like, what is going on? Yes.
I think that's just PTSD. Like, they're a threat because I don't know them. But I was like, holy crap, we're going into this. I thought.
Well, look. Yeah.
What did you think of that? I thought it was good. I liked it because I did not expect it.
I didn't really see it from a PTSD standpoint at the time while watching. In retrospect, I can see why. Obviously, his PTSD is kicking in, and he's like, "Oh, I view these people as the enemy or something."
Yeah.
But it's like, what do you do? Like, these poor guys are just trying to go across Vietnam, remove some landmines that your son just stepped on, and then you're like, you know what? You need to get down on your knees. We're going to tie you up. I'm going to hold you at gunpoint.
That was a little jarring, but yeah, I thought it worked. So, and then the group kind of goes their separate ways because they argue over. Because Norm, their leader, says you have to give this gold and this money back to your people, back to the black community, so that we can be free in our own country. And some of the characters don't believe that. They just want the gold for themselves to get rich. And
right.
But some of the other two characters don't believe that because they're like, Norm was our leader. He died for us. We have to respect his wishes. So they kind of go their separate ways. After another fight scene, which that fight scene worked really well for me.
Yeah.
Where the new Vietnamese bad guys kind of come and they want the gold too. That scene worked well for me. I liked that. But Paul goes his separate ways.
Right.
Paul goes his separate way. And so let's get into the scene that I thought you were talking about. Is the reveal of how Norm died.
Yes.
Paul's walking kind of in a river, kind of a shallow, like a stream, I suppose.
Yeah. And
we see Norm. And it's not in the Vietnam War. It's present day. We see Norm. And he's telling him, you have to let go. You have to forgive yourself. And then Norm lifts his shirt. There's a bullet in there, and I immediately thought, oh, crap, he killed him, didn't he? And turns out that's what happened, is flashback to Vietnam. Yeah. We see a Vietnamese soldier comes up behind Norm and Paul, who are in a plane fighting. Paul turns around, shoots the Vietnamese person, and then hits Norm as well. And Norm dies in his hand. And, man, that scene worked so well for me. That's the best scene in the movie.
Right.
That's the best scene in the movie.
100%.
And Delroy and Chadwick crush it. Because Chadwick essentially says, I forgive you. You need to move on. And because it ain't no thing is what he says. He still loves his friend, even though that accident happened. And man, that scene is so emotional, so great. What do you think of it?
Yeah. Oh, it was the best scene of the movie, far and above. Because, like,
and it becomes light again.
Yes.
When Norm is back, even in present day, it's light. Because he is that light.
Yeah. Well, I liked how that narrative, that plot point, ended up being like jiving with the rest of the movie. Like after that, the beginning, the entire movie leading up to that point suddenly makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
Because you have the character of Paul, and it's like, yeah, he's suffering from PTSD, but he's not. There's something you can tell. There's something more.
There's something
like
else.
When they're on the raft or the boat, and he starts flipping out on the guy selling chicken.
Yeah, there's something there.
Why is he so angry?
Because the other characters, they suffer from some things too, which we can maybe get into. Yeah. Oh, why not right now? Like one of them was successful, then went broke. The other, has this girlfriend that he lost, whatever. But they're all suffering from something. But something's different about Paul. Like he's really over the edge, kind of crazy at times because something's eating at him. And we find out that this is it, that he killed Norm, someone that he really looked up to. They make a point of saying that Norm was all of their hero, but especially Paul's.
Right.
And he killed him accidentally, but he killed him nonetheless. And I think that's
and you can see why. Yeah, go ahead.
That's the turning point, is when he's like, when he kind of comes around, is that this gold doesn't really matter anymore, because we had originally thought for the whole time that Paul's character is only in this for the gold. He doesn't really care about Norm and finding Norm's body, but that's what it comes to, is that he was really here all along to try and get some
reconciliation, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, you can see why Paul being with that group of guys again would only heighten his anxiety.
Yeah.
Because it's like, these guys don't know what happened.
Yeah.
And like, it would instantly magnify your guilt, because you're like, I not only took away my friend, I took away all of these people's friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the rest of the movie makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, for sure. It really ties it in. Let's get into the end where essentially all of our characters die except for Otis. And you tell me,
which is deserved, because Otis is my favorite character. I love him.
Agreed. He was cool. Other than Chadwick, yes.
Yeah, that's true.
You tell me, is that fitting? Because there's a line, and I forgot it, but there's a line somewhere in the movie that says, "We all kind of died in Vietnam." Like they all died, essentially.
Yeah.
So is it fitting that they physically died? They emotionally died, but is it fitting that they physically died? Now that sucks that they died. They die in a battle against the French guy that they betrayed because they wanted the gold for themselves, essentially. So how'd that work for you?
I mean, it worked. I just... I don't know. It was all kind of messy, the way it finished.
It was a little cliche, too, the battle.
Yeah, a lot of stuff just happens at once.
Yep. Because who is it? One of the guys that says, "I don't care how much I love you guys, I would never jump on a grenade for you." And then he ends up jumping on the grenade. I was like, okay, I mean, that's a little...
Oh, yeah, Melvin.
Yeah, it's a little ho-hum, but that worked well enough, I thought. I thought Paul's death worked a little bit better than the others.
Yes.
Where he gets captured.
Poetic.
Yeah, he gets captured by the Vietnamese, and they're asking, like, "Where's the gold? We want the gold." And he says, "The gold doesn't really matter. That's not the point." And because he's, like you said, he's reconciled, and he's ready to be with Norm again, essentially.
Yeah.
So that worked a lot better than the other two's death. Especially better than Eddie's, who died earlier.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then let's talk about Paul's letter to his son, because to this point we're led to believe he says he has no son because his son kind of betrays him, I suppose, because he's just going crazy at this point. A little bit earlier in the movie.
I mean, not really betrayed. In Paul's eyes, he's been betrayed.
Yes.
For whatever reason.
But his letter to his son really worked well for me. Kind of a narration over the conclusion of where all the money went. I thought that worked pretty well.
Yeah.
And I liked it, at least. I don't know how it worked for you.
Nah, it was fine.
Okay.
It was fine. Because, like, yeah, I'm not always a fan of this whole, like, oh, this is what happened to this character. This is what happened to this character.
It's a little cheap. It's a little cheap.
You know, like, the end of The Sandlot? When there's, like, narration on every single character.
Yeah.
Like, what happened to them?
Sure.
First of all, it completely kills the idea of a sequel, but that's not what I'm worried about. It's just kind of like, a little mystery is good.
Yeah, you can leave it a little open-ended, a little ambiguous.
Little ambiguity.
Yeah.
I don't know. But this was fine. It was, again, as an audience member, it's satisfying enough.
Yep.
Especially when you sit through this kind of runtime. You need some kind of closure.
Yeah, it's a conclusion for sure. So let's talk just a little bit what kind of Oscars this might receive. I think personally it'll be nominated for picture, actor, director, something like production design.
Yep.
And maybe score. Might get a few more. I don't know how much it'll win.
But there's not really a score.
Is there? Okay.
It's more of a soundtrack.
A soundtrack, I suppose. Yeah, right? You're right.
I don't think you can get, because it's not like an original soundtrack, is it?
No, you're right. It wouldn't be.
They didn't really write music for it, but
it might get original screenplay nomination. What do you think?
I agree with you in that Delroy Lindo should be nominated for an Oscar. I think that's a fantastic performance.
And if you just gave me 15 more minutes to Chadwick.
What's that?
15 more minutes to Chadwick, and he has an Oscar nomination too.
Yeah, there's just not enough. I don't think he's in there enough to be even considered a supporting actor.
It's so supporting.
He should be. Yeah.
Do you think this wins anything?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah. What's that?
You do think it wins some? I mean, whether Spike Lee intended...
I think it wins... I think it could win production design.
Yeah, production design was great. We said that earlier. Like the Vietnam scenes at the beginning look beautiful.
Yeah. I don't think Spike will win Best Director or anything. I don't even know if this thing will get nominated for Best Picture.
I think it will, just because of what's going on right now. This is, whether Spike intended this or not, like, this is the most perfect release time ever for this movie.
Yeah.
I cannot believe, like, he just got lucky too, but
he nailed it. But to be fair, like, every Spike Lee movie has these racial overtones.
Yeah.
I guess.
I think it'll be nominated, similar to Black Klansman.
Has he made a movie that doesn't explore race in the African American struggle, I suppose?
Inside Man doesn't really. It features two black cops,
like a conventional thriller.
Yeah, it doesn't really. I mean, Denzel's the cop, but that doesn't really mean that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's behind Spike's thinking, is that I guess a film about race relations, for better or for worse, will always be relevant in his eyes, at least.
Yeah. I think it'll be nominated, but we'll have to see. We will have to see.
I did want to say real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm on the film's Wikipedia page.
Oh yeah, we want to talk about this a little bit.
In terms of production, the film, it says, quote, the film was originally a 2013 spec script by Danny Bilson and Paul DeMeo titled The Last Tour with Oliver Stone.
I knew this, yeah. And it was just about 4 white guys going back to Vietnam is what it originally was.
Yeah. And it says, after Stone dropped out in 2016, Spike Lee and Kevin Willmott performed a rewrite after completing Black Klansman, changing it to an African-American perspective.
By the way, we won that trade. I think Oliver Stone would have just, I don't know what the heck he would have done with this.
He would have made his typical, Oliver Stone definitely has a, style. It's
for sure.
Weird, offbeat American history kind of films. But anyway, Samuel L. Jackson, Giancarlo Esposito, who would have been fantastic, Don Cheadle, and John David Washington were eyed for the lead roles, but all passed due to scheduling conflicts.
Well, John David Washington would have been doing Tenet.
He would have been David. He would have been Paul's kid.
Yep. He would have been doing Tenet, though. Man, that would have been good.
When it was filmed?
Probably.
Yeah.
It was probably in production at a similar time. Who else?
Samuel L. Jackson was doing one of his 15 movies.
He's in everything. Oh my gosh. It's insane.
Yeah.
Who else?
Giancarlo Esposito was probably doing Better Call Saul, which, is more important. And Don Cheadle, I don't know what Don Cheadle's been doing these days, but who knows?
He's making Iron Man 4.
Yeah.
Why did Don Cheadle
So that would have
pass?
been really cool.
That seems like something you just have to take every role you get, dude.
If you're Don Cheadle, I guess.
Yeah.
He has some kind of selective ability, right? What is he doing?
I don't know.
Black Monday. Huh.
So this, I don't know how many 2020 movies you have seen, but I've seen, I think, 37 or so that have been wide released.
2020?
Yeah, of 2020. I've seen 38 wide release 2020 movies. A lot of bad movies. This is
wow.
That's impressive. I'm going back and forth. The Five Bloods is either 1 or 2. I have it at 1 right now, but it might go down to 2. Really, really good.
Yeah, right.
I don't know how many 2020 movies you have seen, but
I'm not sure. I'd have to look at that.
I'm assuming it's probably
this would be in the top 30%. I don't know.
Yeah, this will be a weak year just because of everything going on. And in 2019, last year, this would probably be around 15, 20 maybe, which I'd be happy with. I'd like it to be right around there. That's wouldn't be a bad spot for it to be. If this is in the top 5, which it might be this year, top 10 even, it's kind of a weak year. Not to say that this movie is bad, just I hope that there'd be better movies than it, Right,
for sure. It's not this great accomplishment in filmmaking.
No,
Part of it is it's a Netflix release, and there's really, with a Netflix release, you lose a lot of the build up and excitement.
Yeah. Well, this was supposed to premiere at Cannes.
I didn't even see a trailer for it,
Yeah. This was supposed to premiere at Cannes Film Festival, and Spike actually was supposed to be the judge at Cannes. This obviously wouldn't be in contention because he'd just be this wins everything, picture, actor, director. No. But supposed to debut at Cannes, which would have built hype to be released in theaters. I would guess this probably would have made around $150 million total. Maybe more, given the circumstances going on, if COVID hadn't been a thing. But given the race-related issues in the United States today, it might have maybe been $150 million. But it would have been successful enough on all fronts, on box office-wise and commercial success. That's the same thing. My bad. Critical success. That's what I meant to say.
Yep.
And then pseudo critics like us as well. All would have been relatively successful. Who am I kidding? We're real critics.
People would go see it.
Yep. So
People went and saw Black Klansman. So
yeah, let's give a star rating on this movie. Or do you have any last thoughts?
No, that's all I have.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Cool. Let's. Do you want to hit a star rating first, or should I?
I can go first.
Okay.
I saw this guy on some of the reviews by professional critics. This guy kind of summed up my thoughts perfectly on the movie. It says Chuck Bowen of Slant magazine, not Slate, Slant.
Different things.
Slate sucks. Gave the film 2.5 out of 4 stars, concluding, at its best, Da 5 Bloods offers a damning, impassioned, hallucinatory collage of images and ideas concerning the relationship between racism and warfare. At its worst, it's a vibrant mess. And I think vibrant mess is the right way to put it. So I'm giving Da 5 Bloods 3 stars out of 5. But a high 3 stars. So I think I gave it about 67%.
Cool. We should say we do it out of 5.
It earns my recommend. Yeah.
What earns your? Does a 2.5 earn your recommend or no?
No,
it doesn't. How about like a 59?
3 stars and above.
Does like a 59% 2-star earn a recommend?
No,
it doesn't. Okay,
you got to draw a line somewhere.
Okay,
you got to draw a line.
I just was curious. Sometime on the show, we have to have you. Not today, but we have to have you do your grading system live. I would love to. I'd love to hear it.
Pick a movie, be like, all right, let's go at it with a calculator.
Yeah, maybe in Tenet or something, we'll have you do that. I think that'd be fun.
Okay, that'd be fun.
For anyone who doesn't know, Sam grades pretty thoroughly. Did we talk about this in the first episode? I don't even know.
I do. I don't remember, but the idea behind it is you want to give yourself the illusion that it's out of your hands, right? That way there's no, I don't know if this was a 2.5 or a 3 star. It's like, nope, this is what the calculator says. This is the rating. Then you're like, all right, it's decided for me, even though you came up with all the ratings.
Yeah. You can't bump it or boost it though. Yeah. So we should say Sam has 16 categories, minor/major in between, and give him a star rating, and then do some calculator business, and then boom, gives you a percent, which you translate to stars. Me, gut feeling. So I'm so less sophisticated, but that's all right.
Yes.
So we'll have you do it live sometime and let the listeners know how you do it. My star rating, I bounced back and forth for a little while. Couldn't tell, but then just as I thought about it more, I was just like, you know what? I'm giving it 4 stars.
4 stars?
I was really close to 3.5. It's probably about as low as a 4 stars you can get. But I was like, yeah, I'm going to go 4 star just because of that. The one scene alone with Chadwick and Paul, just emotional enough for me to give it that extra grade, or that extra star, I should say.
Yeah.
Extra half star, really. But 4 star. Earns a recommend from me, obviously, too.
Now, would you consider that a great film, then? Is 4 stars great for you? Because it is for me.
4 stars is great. I would say 4 star is a great rating, but like I said, it's so borderline to a 3.5 that.
Okay. Yeah.
That's where my rating system is not as great as yours, is because it is gut, and I guess it depends, on different movies and whatnot. So I would say is this an all-timer? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Is this a very well-made movie? Yes.
Yeah.
So I'll just say that. We'll go with that. Great. Maybe it's tough because it's so present day. Maybe in a year, get back to me. I don't know.
You give it a few years. I don't know how well it'll age either.
Yeah. I will say the present day stuff, I couldn't really tell if it was present day or like sometime in the 2000s. So that was nice. It was like actually present day, but that was good. Anyway, we're going to take
a lot of the Trump stuff.
Yeah, that won't age well. You're right.
Supporter.
That won't age well.
So like that'll age well. But I had the same criticism of Black Klansman is at the end of Black Klansman, it's like, I'm like, okay, that was a pretty good movie. And then at the end, he just throws a bunch of like, the president's comments after Charlottesville and stuff. It's like, no one's going to remember that in like 10 years. Like,
exactly. All right, we're going to hit a quick break and then get back to a recommendation. Thanks for listening. Welcome back, everyone. We're just going to hit a quick. I was about to say week and then said quick and then smashed them. Oh, well. Quick weekly recommendation. For anyone who listened to this episode, probably into war movies of some sort, so I'm not going to recommend a movie. But instead, I'm going to recommend a miniseries that was produced by HBO called Band of Brothers. This came out, I think, probably 20 years ago. I think 2001 maybe. About Easy Company in World War II. About just the one company from all their time in basic to D-Day, all the way to VE Day and the end of the war, to some of them going over to fight in the Pacific Theater against the Japanese. Very good, extremely well-made. Production value is absurdly high. And it's one of the most well-made forms of entertainment ever, from TV shows to movies to otherwise.
Yep.
Really, really good. It's about, I think, 10 episodes. Each of them are about an hour each. The writing is absurdly good. From you kind of watch an episode and you think back to the beginning of it and you're like, wow, that was the same episode, because they move so quick and they get so much done in a single episode. And it feels it's about a giant war, obviously, World War II, but it feels kind of isolated a little bit because it's just following like one company. More specifically, it's following like 15 guys who each get their own episode to do their own thing. And have you seen it, Sam?
I saw the first episode.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Should see the rest of it for sure.
Why I stopped watching it. I might have got distracted.
Okay.
What I saw was very good.
Yeah, see the rest of it. It's backed, produced by Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg. I think he's done a couple things, I feel like. I don't know what. Maybe
Steven Spielberg, I'm sure he knows nothing about making a World War II movie.
No, absolutely not. How could he? Really well made, well acted. Everything's great about it. Check it out. Band of Brothers on HBO. Sam, what's your recommend?
My recommend is all this talk about Marvin Gaye kind of made me think of this YouTube channel called Polyphonic, which it's just this guy, and he's just very passionate about listening to music, and he does video essays on just a lot of like important pieces of like particularly American popular music in the later 20th century-ish. I think he did an episode about Marvin Gaye's What's Going On, which is obviously like a very huge album, both in like in terms of African American music and also just American music in general, American popular culture. So it's just a very good channel. I've seen probably every video he's ever done. It's just so well made, very well produced, and they're just quick, very informative video essays. So
cool.
Polyphonic, check it out
on YouTube. You said
yes.
Awesome.
On YouTube.
Polyphonic on YouTube. Check it out for sure. All right. With that being said, we will see everyone next week. But Sam, I've been looking for you forever on Letterboxd. Still can't find you. Still trying. Where can I find you?
You can look. Okay. Write this down.
Okay, I'm writing it down. Yep.
Dierberger.
Okay.
Dierberger.
Put that in the show notes as always.
It's not that long. Come on. Yes. So we'll put that in the description. Where can I find you, Will?
On Letterboxd, you can find me at willspalding. Check us out both over there. Check our show out on Instagram at Those Film Nerds and Gmail at thosefilmnerds@gmail.com. Send us your thoughts on The Five Bloods or really anything. We'll answer it all.
Yeah, send us an email, people.
We're excited to get those.
We're so lonely.
And I think, Sam, I'm pretty sure we passed like 200 listens / views the other day.
Okay.
200, not bad.
Thank you.
Between all podcast platforms and YouTube. So keep in mind, we're on all podcast platforms. We're on YouTube. Check us out. Give us a rating. That'd be kind of cool, right? Anyway, stay tuned until next week when we'll be talking something. We're not sure what yet.
We'll figure that out.
Everyone, keep watching movies, even though there aren't really movies coming out. We'll see you next time.
See ya, everyone.